Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast, your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of our Stuff and Things podcast. It's Monday, that means it's Marvel Monday or Moon Knight Monday because we're talking about episode 5 today of the Marvel Disney Plus original show. I am Sam, joining me to break it down and discuss in probably just to have some fun with it. It's my partner in crime, it's Stefan.
I like the fact it's like minute detail and then it's like, no, there's too many details. Moon Knight got emotional, man.
Emotional damage. Basically, this episode, it's funny because before this series came out, I remember reading a lot about Kevin Feige doing interviews, talking to people about Dark and how he genuinely felt that Disney were going to say no. He felt that they were going to look at this and go, "Nah, guys, that's too much." And they didn't. And he was delighted with that. He felt that the show got to really tell the story it wanted. Now, I've watched 4 episodes of this. Now, I don't know about you, but when I heard him say that, I was thinking, this show's going to be violent. This character of Moon Knight, I know, is going to be violent. The trailer, you saw it like literally beating this jackal to death with his bare hands. I'm like, oof, This is going to be visceral. This is going to feel a bit like the Netflix Marvel shows, perhaps, like real blood and guts stuff.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of scenes early on with like Marc /Steven /another covered in blood, but you don't actually see what gets to that point and all these. So I'm kind of watching it thinking at some point there's going to be some serious ass violence in this show.
Yeah, no, they went the other way of dark.
I don't think I was expecting child abuse.
Child abuse and drowning children. Again, it's been very cleverly done because you don't see anything.
To be honest with you, cleverly and just horrifically done because traumatizing. This episode had it all. So as per tradition on this show, we're talking Moon Knight episode 5 of the show's first and probably only series, and episode 5, the title is
Asylum. Which answers that question from last week of whereabouts actually is he? Is it a hospital? Is it an institute? Yeah. No, it's an asylum. Okay.
Yeah, okay. We've gone for the word asylum.
Yep.
Which always has a kind of dark connotation. Thanks to Batman.
I was about to say that says Batman, doesn't it? Really? Yeah.
The episode jumps around. It kind of jumps us between the asylum with Dr. Harrow. And then being on a boat, sailing through the deserts of ancient Egypt to Arut, with the goddess Taroet. I'm really not sure I'm pronouncing that right, because the pronunciation guide I found online says Taure, like you don't pronounce the last T.
Yep.
But everybody, including in the show, are saying Taroet. Of course. It's an American show, which means they could be getting it wrong and they just don't care, because let's face it, that's how it works. But see spelling of Odin. But I honestly don't know. So I'm butchering this. Now, there was a really lovely lady who kindly allowed me to use some explanations from her TikTok account.
Yes.
She does YouTube, TikTok, all these different things, and she is a Cambridge University graduate in Egyptology, and she literally talks about the reality of the mythology into the show. And she has very kindly agreed that I can ask her some questions and she will come back to me with the answers ahead of our final episode, which is next week.
Nice.
So if there's anyone listening now who's been watching along with this and you're thinking, is this Marvel? Is this actually in Egyptology? Is this actually part of the myth? Then email in, let us know, because I will put all the questions to her this week. And next week on the show, which will be the final show, talking about Moon Knight, we will have all of her answers for us.
Nice.
Also, I should probably say, episode 1 of Moon Knight, everyone remember I was joined by the lovely Kaylee. Kaylee is...
Ah, yes, very good, yes.
Kaylee, yes, that's her. Kaylee is joining us again with her telephone voice.
Yeah, I've got to be really nice on this one. I can give it when she's not here. When she is here, I have to be nice.
Yeah. She knows me. I can be more of a jerk. It's fine. So
she doesn't know me. I have to pretend to be nice. It's fine.
You do. We are going to have the three of us on the show to talk about that, breaking down the final episode of Moon Knight, and basically thinking forward, to going over the whole series as well as the final episode. So that'd be fun. That's next week. But this week, focusing purely on this week, like I said, this episode does jump around a lot between these different realities, and I want to open up with something. I've seen it a few places, a few other people think this, and I made a note of this, and I wonder if you did as well. I genuinely think in this episode we actually saw the third personality.
Yes, when he's sat at the table.
Yeah,
he's got like the broken nose and everything, and then it comes back to that scene later and it's all gone. And there was that I'm sitting there going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Who had a broken nose? Because Stephen doesn't. Yeah. And Mark didn't. Oh my God.
Yeah, so we've had these kind of very different kind of personality. Stephen and Mark, you just listen to their accents, they're very, very different.
Yeah.
And so that has kind of been the giveaway between them, in essence, when you've seen some of these scenes where they're flicking between them. Even in this episode, there's a moment where Dr. Harrow sees Stephen again. Stephen throws a glass of water in his face, which is just so Stephen. It's so like, where am I? Oh, no.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
And he does start apologising to him, like, I'll give you a bit of a shower there, It's like, nice one, Stephen. But there is definitely a scene where there's a character that I think we're all thinking is Mark. The Dr. Harrow calls him Mark, but he actually sounds different. When he talks, he genuinely sounds different to Mark.
Yeah.
There is a... I can't place American accents as well as obviously I can in the UK, but to me it sounds New Yorker. It sounds very kind of that broad New York accent to me. But then again, if I hear him speak more, I might go, no, that's something completely different. It could be Chicago or something like that. But it did
whereas
sound
I just go, oh, American. Yep.
Yeah, but it did sound very... Whereas Mark, I'd call sort of like standard American kind of accent. This sounded very almost like a regional American accent.
I get you, yeah.
But I can't tell you the region. There's possibly some people listening going, that sounded just like this. But if you even picked up on it, of course, because it was very quick. You picked up on the visual clue, the nose.
Yes.
That's definitely a massive visual clue because we see both Stephen and Mark in this setting with Dr. Harrow, and neither of them have that. It's only this version who sounds slightly different, he looks different, and also he went to violence very quickly.
Yeah, like he got that pyramid off the desk almost instantly. He was like, And I watched, when he did that, I'm like, would Mark have done that?
I'm not
and that's where I started
sure.
questioning. I was like, who is this? Must be the third character.
Yeah. Who, and like we said, the third personality in the comics is a character called Jake.
Yeah.
We don't know if that... likely it's going to be because of how they've done it, but for want of a better way of doing it, rather than us always saying the third, we're going to refer to it from this point of view as Jake. It could be proved to be something else, because obviously difference between the comic and the show. But for this, we're going to say Jake. And Jake, so far, all we've seen is violence, really, because we've not seen him in any way other than you've seen the other two kind of coming back around and him have just straight up murdered people.
Yeah.
So in this scene, the fact that he went for that, he chose violence, he was ready to absolutely go.
Yes, and looking at the pictures between the scenes, so you've got Mark seems to have his hair kind of almost like quiffed up and back. You've got Stephen, who has his hair a bit straggly at the front and curly.
Yeah.
And again, this third character, the broken nose, again, it's a different kind of hairstyle.
It is. There is definitely
I am convinced.
Differences there.
Convinced I am.
Yeah, well, I think we're right. I think I've seen a few people do analysis of the scenes as well. But yeah, so if you didn't spot that, then go back to the episode again and watch it. It's the scenes with Dr. Harrow in particular to keep your eye on, because I believe in this episode we see all three personalities. Yeah. But what is interesting is Dr. Harrow, because all of this is in Mark's mind. Tower Ep basically says to him, like, you've manifested this as your underworld, your afterlife, your kind of purgatory. You create this, because she says, like, I've never been no one's ever done an asylum before,
Yes.
So she has basically said that you create this for yourself. And I think Stephen even's like, why would it be an asylum? And Mark's like, because we're crazy.
Yeah, we are mental.
We are mental.
Yeah.
We have serious problems. So this is a manifestation. So each personality taking their turn with Dr. Harrow in Mark's mind, if you like. It's interesting that me and you have talked about, is Mark even aware of Jake? Because the Dr. Harrow knows Stephen and says, "Oh, hello, Stephen. I never thought I'd get to speak to you again," but calls Jake Mark.
Yeah,
he
who
does.
Who is this third character? Where has he come from?
Yeah, and also when Jake picks up that thing to attack him, Jake is saying, "You shot me." Yep. So again, it's like verbally you're thinking, it doesn't sound like Mark, but he's saying what Mark would say, because we just heard Mark say that to Stephen. So again, he's obviously very, Stephen was aware he shot us. Jake's aware, so yeah, that was interesting scenes anyway. But like I said, I mean, this episode really kind of rocked all over the place. Tower basically explaining to them that your hearts have to balance. By the way, and I gotta say this because this is something that has to be said. The character Tower, voiced by an absolutely beautiful woman, by the way, which is hilarious. Some of the memes. Have you seen those?
No.
Yeah, so you got that visual of these two, Stephen and Mark, screaming at the sight of Tower.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people have got, like, how when I see the character and those two screaming, and then when I see the actress voicing the character and it's got the two of them, like, pulling real, like, cheesy grins, like, hey. But yeah, so... Yeah, it's funny. If you don't know who it is, go look it up. You'll see what I mean.
Antonia Salib. Is her name?
There you go. Now, she is the character now, Tower. I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, she weighs their hearts and then laughs like, "Oh, I didn't know if I'd be able to do that," like exploding your chests, and you're like, "What? What?" And also, she seems like seriously out of practice. She's like, "Oh, no souls have passed through here in a long time." Which I think kind of indicates, the ways of the ancient Egyptians and the belief in these gods and this system is obviously so long gone.
Yeah, it's like people don't believe in that anymore, so they've just kind of been sat around going, "You wait, there'll be a believer somewhere."
Yeah.
Hey, believers, here we go.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. She does also, and I know this would delight you, make a Black Panther reference.
Mm-hmm.
She talks about untethered consciousnesses, and she talks about there are many realms or planes of existence like this, and basically the MCU have confirmed in this episode a kind of afterlife for exists in the MCU, a kind of another plane, as she puts it, for untethered consciousness, so souls that have left their bodies behind on Earth or wherever, because she mentions the celestial, was it the ancestral plane?
Yes,
which is
where Black Panther goes when he takes the plant stuff.
Yeah, so T'Challa and Killmonger both visit that to speak with their fathers, and see visions, etc., like a vision quest. So, by the way, she also says it's beautiful. She's like, "Oh, you should see the ancestral plane. It's beautiful." It just made me laugh. Like, okay. So these beings, these kind of gods from ancient Egypt, for want of a better word, are not only aware of their own, this is where we are, this is our domain, this is our kind of afterlife, for want of a better word, our heaven. They're also fully aware there's lots of them.
Yes.
And basically the MCU are establishing that depending on where you are, what your beliefs are, that's where you go.
Which is kind of cool. It's opening the door, for sure.
It is, and it's kind of
what quite two, I'm not sure, but they're opening the door there somewhere.
Well, they've opened the door to this kind of, we've had magic brought in via Doctor Strange, Wanda, and now we're opening the door to the kind of mystic side of things. We've seen mummies are quite real.
Yeah, we've seen dragons in Shang-Chi, which I'm still a bit dubious on. But yeah, we have seen lots of different things coming into this now.
Yeah, so the kind of the mystic side of things and the kind of, you can basically explore the kind of horror genre now through Moon Knight. Mummies exist, that we know that Blade's coming, so we know vampires exist. So yeah, there's a whole another aspect to the Marvel and the MCU now that's going to be introduced, which it's going to be interesting, definitely. And I think I've said to you before, there's so many times when I've been looking at the stuff they've announced as coming, and I've looked at it, I've gone, oh, that's going to be too much. It's a man in an iron suit, a god of thunder, all this stuff. You go, okay, I'm on board with all of this, but come on, magic? Nah.
Yeah, magic's before. I know mummies and vampires, really. Yeah, but the way they're introducing it all slowly, kind of bit by bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of making... I don't want to say making sense.
No, you're right. But... It is the right way of doing it, because I think this is the key difference between when you see stuff that's being made by Marvel Studios compared to when you see other studios try and make comic book films.
Yeah.
You only got to look at it and go, you understand the source material, and you understand that what they're doing is they're trying to base these unreal creatures, these unreal things into reality. So how could you get that? And what's funny to me, and this is just my opinion, but what's funny to me is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, basically, for me, came about following the Batman trilogy.
The Dark Knight trilogy, yeah.
The Dark Knight trilogy, because up until those series of films, every time I'd watched Batman, Superman, anything like that, it was very kind of cartoony, very kind of, I'd say comic booky, but in the sense of it was over the top. If you think back to the Batman films with Michael Keaton and then later George Clooney, Val Kilmer, everything was like bright colours, everything was kind of very overacted and stuff like that. And it was fun and of its time. But what the Batman trilogy did, the Dark Knight trilogy did, was basically ground it in reality. And they said, okay, why would a guy dress like a bat? Let's actually find a reason. Yeah. So people could go, oh, okay, it's not just comic booky. This guy actually had a rational thought process to get there. How could a billionaire become a badass? How could a billionaire literally learn to fight like that? Okay, so we've got to give him that. We've got to give him an arc. So he was trained. He was trained as a ninja. This guy, why can he just vanish? Why, all these things that are in the comic book, they gave us that. They grounded it. So when you're watching all these events and all these things happen, you're watching it from a point of view of completely grounded, and it's based in reality, and you can actually believe these events.
Yeah.
And then with the MCU, Tony Stark, Iron Man, kicked off the MCU. They grounded, they're so fantastical, the idea behind that. But they grounded it into this reality where you saw him at his worst, lowest, captured, nearly dying.
Yeah.
He's literally doing this to save his own life.
He's not doing it to be a hero. He's doing it to get out.
Not. And it evolves, it evolves from that. And because it was so grounded and so gritty, dirty, kind of on this level, you follow that. And then everything they've introduced since, they've done it in the same way. Mm-hmm. And like you just said, it makes it feel like, okay, of course there's mummies. We're following a character that's basically half possessed by an Egyptian god, fully on board with this. Of course there's going to be mummies.
Yeah, if I'm on board with an Egyptian god having someone as their kind of go-to, why would there not be mummies in?
Exactly, but the MCU have established, the god kind of tier through Thor and Asgard. They have established that, through human mythology, these people did exist. They still do exist.
Yeah.
It's just, times have evolved, and so they're now myths and legends, not actually, of course I know Thor, he's over there,
Yeah, so, it's a bit different now, but yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, like I said, it's a lot of fun where it's going with this, and loads of times in the past I've looked at it and gone, nope, this is going to be the moment where I go, no, this is too far, and yet they still manage to grind it and make it make it very, very good.
Yes.
So focusing back on the episode, apologies for going on a tangent.
Here is all over the place. It's Mark and Stephen at this point. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I am. Yeah, definitely. I do want to talk about the foreshadowing from episode 1. So, actually, I'll tell you what, I'm going to circle back to that.
Okay. I'm putting a circle around it.
Yeah, please do, because I'll forget. The goddess Taweret says, you guys need to find your balance. You need to balance these scales before we arrive.
Because those things are moving like crazy. Like, they're not even like they're out balancing the feather, but they are like fighting against it seriously. Like,
massively, yeah.
Did you kind of get from that the same as I did, where it was like, well, that's obvious, isn't it? Like, Stephen's heart is pure and balanced. Mark's heart is bloody crazy. That's what I kind of took from the scales moving so much. It was like...
Well, for me, I thought they needed the third heart. I thought this was all about reconciling all 3 personalities.
Ah, okay.
Because in the previous episode, remember, Mark rescued Stephen from the sarcophagus.
And left the other one. And so I was thinking to myself, this is going to have to be a kind of journey back, because she says you need to go back through your memories, share everything with each other, and I'm thinking at some point there's going to be a memory of just straight up murdering people, and Stephen's going to be like, what did you do? And Mark's going to go, that wasn't me. Yeah, I don't remember that one. Yeah,
no, because I did think, I wonder if we're going to see the moment, where we see Stephen with that scarab with Harrow.
Yeah.
And then his memory kind of blanks, and then he comes back and everyone's dead. And I was wondering if we were going to see the scenes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I was thinking, I wonder if we're going to get those blanks filled in.
And Stephen looks at Mark, and Mark's like, nope, not me.
Yeah,
nope.
No, not me. And then he clicks, like, there was another sarcophagus, and so that was where my head went.
Yeah.
The show went very differently. We have this room full of dead bodies that look like zombies, by the way. So, zombies in the MCU.
I did wonder if we were getting a hint at the What If series there.
Yeah. So there was a whole room full of zombies. And Stephen's like, Mark, why are we in a room full of dead people? And Mark's walking around going, oh, yeah, I know.
New York,
I know,
Dubai, France.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
God.
Mark, did you kill all these people? Now, there's a really interesting moment with this, because Stephen is kind of disgusted by the fact that Mark's done these things. Yeah. And you can tell it's the way he says it, the way he talks about it. But there's this real moment here where Mark is also disgusted and Stephen sees it. But Mark makes it abundantly clear that these were the worst of the worst. And I was enacting Khonshu's...
Yeah, he hasn't gone and just killed a random person because, you're driving a red car.
Yeah,
it was planned out, I guess, by Khonshu.
Yeah.
Look,
Khonshu...
these guys are drug mules. They're smuggling in children to use their drugs. Therefore, boom, get rid of that person. He's the king person. Yeah,
and that's it. And it's probably the first time that, Stephen kind of looks at him. I think Stephen realizes, oh, wow, wait a minute. You're not just a mindless killer like I was assuming you are. This is actually more to that. And we see the scales again in this memory, and they start to slow down. So Stephen's like, look, it's working. It's working. You're sharing with me. We're learning about each other.
Yeah.
And this is working. And then a child appears. And Stephen's line of, Mark, why is there a child in the room full of people you've murdered?
Yeah.
Which to me, by the way, I was genuinely panicking about, oh no, don't tell me Mark killed a kid.
Yeah, that was my mind went to, this is about to get really bad.
This is about to get really dark. I'm like, oh no, this is going to get really bad. And it did, but for a very different reason, because I think we now realise why that child was in that room, because Mark believes he did kill that kid.
Yeah, he's kind of taken the blame for it completely.
Because Mark had that blame put on him. So what we then learn is that kid was actually Mark's younger brother.
Yes.
Mark was with his family, his mother and his father and a younger brother, and they went off to play in a cave.
As soon as they walked into that cave, you know, you're sitting there going, "Oh shit! Yeah. I know where this is going."
Well, the fact that at no point have we had a mention of Mark having a brother, and now we're seeing, I'm like, I know, because of course we've all been theorizing what was the traumatic event that created the other personality.
Yeah,
and so the minute this starts to roll. And Stephen's like, "Oh, look, it's Mum." And I'm like, "Oh, no, I know what this is. I know."
Yeah.
Did you notice, by the way, and I'd love to know if you've got any theories why this could be.
Okay.
When Stephen's following the two boys into the cave, he stands on what looks like a bird skeleton. It's basically Khonshu.
Yes, I noticed it was definitely reminiscence of a Khonshu.
So, come on, man. What's that about? I mean, like... I'm in completely two different points of view here, because is that just something that Stephen/Mark is seeing in this memory thing, or was that actually genuinely there on the ground when the two boys went into that cave? And does that mean that Khonshu all the way back then was turning events? Do you see where I'm going with this? It's like...
Yeah.
Was that actually on the ground, or was that just something that Stephen is seeing in this kind of, you know, flickers of memory? I don't know.
Has Khonshu always... No. I don't think Khonshu's always been there, purely because of what we see later in the episode when we first get introduced to that bit.
Yeah, but did he set everything in motion to get him there?
It's definitely potential. I mean, with the MCU, anything like that is potential.
Yeah.
It was definitely like the bird on the floor was definitely a representation sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's a case of whether it was really there or whether he's seeing it there because of the things that have happened. I couldn't say. But it was definitely was there.
Yeah, we can definitely say we saw it.
Yes.
We as the audience saw it, and therefore we were meant to see it. So they go, Stephen goes in this case. Now Mark is pleaded with Stephen not to follow this memory, and Stephen is quite literally in the asylum locked him out of it, so Stephen can explore it.
Yeah, that was a bit of a scene.
Mark is freaking out. We don't really follow why Mark's freaking out so much, but he obviously is trying to stop Stephen from seeing this.
Yes.
And Stephen does witness his younger brother drown, and then is at the funeral service, the wake afterwards.
As Mark finally gets back in,
Yeah, as Mark finally manages to get back to him, and he's basically just trying to get him out of there.
Yeah.
And you're watching it, and then you see young Mark come down the stairs, and his mother, who's grieving, just lashes out at him, evilly blaming him. I kind of knew that was coming, because of, in the scene when they're going off to the cave, she says, "Mark, what do you do?" He's like, "I look after my younger brother."
Yeah.
And then immediately, now, grief is a horrific thing. And grief, to process the anger and the loss, you do tend to have to put it somewhere. Like, you know, I've lost people, and everyone here has lost, sadly would have lost people. And if it happens in an accident, there is just no kind of rationalising it in your brain. You just have to be angry at someone or something for this happening.
Yes.
And you see people take it out on the wrong people all the time. What, you know, that moment, that lashing out at her son, I think all of us could go, "Oh, that's awful," but she's in pain, you know, this is a terrible, terrible pain.
Yeah.
What we then see unravel is that this wasn't just that day. She hates him.
Over the next couple of years, like the birthdays, and we see all that. And as I'm watching it, you kind of like, you're seeing it travel through the years.
Yeah, you are.
At least 1 or 2 years goes past.
Yeah.
And you're watching this and you're like, oh, wow, like this is pure kind of like hatred.
Yeah, and we're seeing these snippets, but this is his life day to day.
Yeah.
He is living with his own mother hating him.
Yeah.
Not just like angry, not just silent treatment, not just because she's drinking, she's become an alcoholic, you can see that, and she is hating and saying things to him which are just awful. You know, he's there on his birthday and she basically says, "You were always jealous of your little brother. I should have known you were going to do something like this to get rid of him."
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, can you? I mean, I can't even. One of the really sad things, and it is confronted in this as well, is when you see I think it's like a teenage Mark is leaving in one of these scenes. He's screaming at his father, like his father's like, "I've lost a son, please, I can't lose you," and he's like, "You should have done something about this."
Yep.
And I gotta be honest with you, me watching it, you see the father like trying to just carry on. He's like, my wife's in a bad place, but I love her. I've lost a son, but I've got this son. I need to, keep going. He obviously has to work and think. The guy's in a nightmare scenario. But Mark's right. The father should have stopped what was happening.
Yeah.
Because it's messed up. It is very messed up. Now, if a teenage Mark finally walked out the door, and I'm guessing we can't really put an age on him, but he's definitely looking at him. He looks teenage.
Oh, definitely. I'd have said probably like 15, 16, leaving home sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. We see previous to that a scene that Mark tries desperately to stop Stephen from seeing.
Yeah.
He tries everything to stop it, and he can't. And in that scene, you actually see Mark sat on the floor in his bedroom, and his mother hammering at the door to get into him, and he's rocking back and forth like, "It's not my mum, it's not my mum, it's not my mum." And then you actually see him, for the first time, create Stephen.
Yes. And that's a heck of a scene.
That scene, when you think about it, one, the child actor does a really wonderful job as well, because he manages to get what Oscar Isaac has done, which is, I'm acting this way, bang, on a dime, I'm now acting this way, I'm a different person.
Yeah, I've gone from rocking backwards and forwards like, oh my god, to, oh look, the pen's on the floor. Gotta pick
exactly. Now, we all rightly praise Oscar Isaac for the phenomenal job he's doing in this, and this episode especially, by the way. Mm-hmm. I think it's right just to say that kid got that nailed as well, because that was special. That was something else, and well done him, because he even manages to get the accent,
Mm-hmm.
So well done to that young actor. But Mark, Oscar Isaac then has to act as both Mark and Stephen in this scene, which, can't be easy, because he's getting the emotion from both sides. You only got to give him compliments. I mean, you've only just got to say wow, because I don't know about you, but I really felt this. And the moment the mother bursts into the room, and she's basically going to beat Mark. She is literally picks up a belt, and Mark takes Stephen out of there, and he's like, "You were never supposed to know any of this. You were never supposed to see this."
Yeah, he literally says it like, you were created so that you didn't see this.
And Stephen's rightly a mess about that. Stephen believed he was the one, the original, the person.
And when Mark, we now realise that it's been going on for that long, like, we said before what had happened and when to kind of do so.
Well, we thought it could have been what happened in the desert with Layla's father.
Yeah,
but
no, it goes all the way back to childhood, and that's a long time to have this Stephen to be around.
It's a massively long time. And also, you remember their conversation between Mark and Layla a couple of episodes ago, where he says, up until recently, I had this under control. And it's so interesting to me that he fell in love with, married a woman, so clearly spent a hell of a lot of time with her, and she had no idea Stephen existed.
Yeah.
So when he says he had it under control, he like literally...
He had it locked down, yeah.
He had it locked down, yeah. He had everything done, and it was basically, and you see this again in these flashbacks, in these memories, that in essence it was the death of his mother and his father inviting him to the Shiva, Jewish family, inviting him to this, that he just couldn't go in, and he was stood outside drinking heavily.
Yep.
And then that emotion, that raw kind of, he's so angry. You could see it. He is so angry both at everything that happened to him, but the fact that he obviously still loved his, it's his mum.
Yeah.
And he was just, and that raw emotion, everything, and that led to this break. And Stephen then took the wheel, and he literally, in the middle of the road, Stephen's like, "Oh, bloody hell, where am I?" And he's trying to ring his mum to talk to her, like, "Oh, I'm lost, where are you?" and all this stuff. And it's, Mark says to him, he's like, "This is the moment, 2-3 months ago when she died, and that was when I, didn't have a handle on this anymore."
which then makes sense when you look at the Layla conversation about, I've been trying to call you for months. Where have you been?
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Well, yeah, I lost it and Stephen took over.
Basically, yeah. I mean, he headed back to London. One of the things I do think we need to point out, because it's kind of, I know you want to touch on this, so I'll say this, I'll set you up, and then you can have the fun with it. One of the things in Mark's bedroom is there's a poster on the wall for this movie. So in the asylum, we saw this VHS tape of a Dr. Stephen Grant, and clearly this is something. Yeah, clearly this is something the two boys had seen and loved as a story as the kids. And therefore he created this alt in that kind of image. But there's something in the poster, man. There is a serious Easter egg for anyone who fancies pausing, zooming, and Googling. Yes,
the name. So when you look at the actual poster itself, it's got all the names on there, and at the bottom it's kind of got, made by, etc. Well, basically, it's the name on it is the first name that Marvel Comics ever had.
Yeah, Atlas.
Time Atlas or something. Yeah, there's one before. It's Atlas, and then it's like Time Atlas and stuff. And and it's one of those ones where you watch it, and if you know what it is you're looking for, you would have spotted it and gone, "Whoa, what?"
Yeah. But well, it's funny because I saw someone detail. I saw someone do a video where they kind of laugh because they're like, so this is a movie which has obviously been made from a comic book.
Yeah.
So in essence, in this reality, in this kind of thing, that was the MCU. Atlas Comics, that was their version. Which made me laugh. I kind of thought that was funny. But yeah, so like I said, that was a fun little detail for anyone wanting to look back through and spot that. There's loads of stuff people can spot in these episodes.
It's like the QR code. So the QR codes have disappeared for a couple of episodes. Yeah. And it's back in this one. There's another QR code in this one.
Yeah.
And apparently all the QR codes, now this is a fun point. So if you now go back and watch episode 1 or 2, the QR codes now all take you to the same one as it was in this one.
Okay.
So they've actually changed the QR codes, or they've changed where the QR codes go to.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fun.
Yeah, so if you go back and watch the first 2 episodes and scan the QR codes, it will take you to the same episode as episode 5 will take you to.
The same, comic book issue. Yeah, okay. Well, that's kind of fun. So all roads lead to that now. Basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Another fun detail as well, I don't know if many people have picked up on this, because with Marvel stuff, everyone's waiting for an after-credit scene. And then when they've not come, people have just like, oh, okay. Now, I don't know how much attention people have actually paid, therefore, to the credits, or whether they're literally just letting it roll in the background whilst they wait to see if there's a credit scene.
Yeah.
But one of the things that has changed constantly is there is a moon that's being eclipsed. So at the end of episode 1, you literally see what looks like a C. You can literally see one side, the right side of the moon, and all you can see is the very, very edge of the moon. At the end of episode 2, you can see more. Mm-hmm. By the end of episode 3, it's half the moon. By the end of episode 4, it's basically 3/4 of the moon is now visible. It's like gradually this has moved more and more into the moon is getting brighter.
Yeah.
At the end of episode 5, it's completely flipped to what was episode 1. So whereas it was the right side of the moon and you could only just see it, end of episode 5, it's flipped. It's now the left side of the moon, and you can only just see it.
Ooh.
So every episode, more and more of the moon's been exposed, and then at the end of episode 5, bang, no, it's in darkness again, and you can just about see, but it's the other side. I have no idea of the meaning behind that.
But again, it's Marvel, so if it's there to be seen, it's there to be seen for a reason.
Exactly. So yeah, if anyone has any bright ideas, get in touch and let me know, because I dare say there is definitely a reason behind it. I just can't think of it yet. And it's doing my head in. But yeah, so like I said, we go through all these members, and we do see this horrific child abuse. And that is what triggers his illness, his mental illness, and he creates Stephen. What I'm going to find interesting, and we've only got 1 episode left. How in the hell are we ever going to learn this?
There is so much to kind of be said.
Yeah.
At the same time, see, I was talking to the wife about this.
Yeah.
And we were saying, like, there's only one episode left. That's insane. Like, how are you going to wrap up so much in one episode?
Yeah.
And then realised, because of the way TV's done nowadays, that one episode is going to be between 45 minutes and an hour long.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Now, you look, a lot of movies these days are only 90 to 100 minutes long.
Yeah.
So actually, you've got almost in half a movie or so.
You've definitely got the time to tell a complete story, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, it's so weird that we're like, my God, there's only one episode left. Like, how are they going to do everything in one episode? Whereas actually, if you think over the 6 episodes, we could have had 3 movies.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a movie trilogy, yeah.
So if they do it correctly, which I have full faith in Marvel, then 45 minutes to an hour is absolute plenty of time to wrap up the loose endings.
Yeah.
But at the same time, oh my God, there's only one episode left. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah, and one of the things, and the thing I was about to come on, is we have had this clear sight now of Stephen being created.
Yeah.
We know the reason, we know how, we know when, we know why. Everything there is absolutely clear. So where in the hell has Jake come from? Why does he exist? Why is there this other? And why is it that Mark doesn't seem to know?
Mate, how are we going to feel when we finish next week's podcast and go, can you believe they didn't mention Jake once?
Yeah. I think I might lose it.
6 episodes discussing you wait till the third character comes in. They didn't bring him in? What?
I mean, yeah.
Mephisto all over again, seriously.
Maybe that's who the third character is.
Yeah.
I got it. It was Agatha. It was Agatha.
Oh, no, don't start that again. Don't start that again.
No, don't start that again. You're right. Don't do that again.
Also, just a fun joke, whilst it's in my head, because that's how it's going to work. Yeah. Did you notice that, considering this is made by Marvel, who is owned by Disney, they then reference another show recently owned on the Disney platform by telling you how it's very Ned Flanders.
The Simpsons reference.
So the Simpsons exists in the MCU.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I mean, we've had Avatar thrown out there. We've had all sorts thrown out there. That he does reference a lot of different stuff, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Always Stephen, which again
Yes.
I find is quite funny. He's like, oh, I like your mustache, very Ned Flanders. Yeah. We come to the scene now where the hearts still haven't balanced.
Yes.
I'm still thinking to myself, it's because you need the third one. Come on, Mark, you're going to have to tell us. You're going to have to open up.
Yep.
But Tavares says, that's it. That's time. Time's up. Sorry, boys, I was rooting for you. And these zombie-like creatures from Mark's past now come on, basically made of sand, come onto the boat and are going to drag them down in.
That took me a second to realise that they were the people from the room.
Yeah.
And then when you do realise, you suddenly go, oh my God, literally his past is dragging him back. Wow. Okay.
And they're going to drag them down into the duat, basically the wasteland, for souls that aren't worthy to move into the afterlife.
Yeah.
And, the afterlife being the field of reeds. And so it's... Mark, Stephen hides behind Mark. Smart, sensible thing to do. Mark is beaten down. They've got the upper hand on him, and Stephen steers the boat to give Mark a fighting chance. And then Mark basically gets lamped out by a baseball bat that one of these people are carrying.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh, what the hell? I don't know. We're going to have to see this other personality emerge, surely. This is, again, I know I sound like I'm obsessed, but I'm kind of like, at some point, what's going to happen? Because Stephen's just like, oh my God. But it's actually, Stephen has that realisation of...
This is what I was created for. Here we go.
I'm you. So if I'm you, then I can do this as well.
Yes.
And he does. He goes in. He takes a guy out brilliantly. He picks up a bat and cracks him and shouts 6 and goes, I prefer cricket, which is...
I love that. That was so good.
Just cracked me up again, absolutely brilliant.
Just that little bit of British humour that his character has.
Yeah.
Which I wonder how much of the American audience have actually got some of Stephen's jokes compared to the British audience.
See, it's funny, I don't think they do, because when I see a lot of criticism about the British side of this, terrible accent, all this stuff, I'm like looking at it going, that's all Americans saying that. Like, the Brits are thinking it's hilarious, and he's nailed it.
Yeah.
It is, of
I
course,
preferred
it's a little
cricket.
bit...
They're sitting there going, why would you like cricket? What's that about?
Well, yeah,
whereas
and
we're
the
sitting
fact...
there going, that's brilliant.
The fact he shouted 6,
yeah.
not, it didn't, you see you see people hit something really hard, they go 4, like a golf reference. No, not Stephen.
He went for 6 because the cricket.
Yeah, and even though he's swinging a baseball. But, and then, of course, we have the quite heartbreaking moment where one of them grabs Mark to drag him over. Stephen tries to save Mark, and then Stephen goes over.
So Stephen literally does what he was created to do and saves Mark. And
by doing that, he is frozen and is gone.
Yeah.
And because he saves Mark, Mark's soul his heart balances. And he can pass into the field of reeds. Yeah. And that's how the episode ends.
But Stephen, man, I did not expect at the end of an episode to be like, well, that was emotional.
Yeah. No, I
especially
agree with that.
Not an episode that was as kind of dark and deep as this episode was.
Yeah.
And I'm sat there at the end like, but Stephen, what the hell happens now?
Well, it's the reaction everywhere. I mean, people are just like, there's no way they just killed Stephen off.
Yeah.
Please tell me they didn't just kill Stephen. And I'm like, well,
I think
Mark has a mental disorder. The fact is the character's dead. We're talking about the killing of Stephen. Mark has passed into the afterlife.
Yeah, Mark is literally dead. He's in...
Yeah, he is in the afterlife.
He's in the field of reeds. He's gone.
So how or what happens to bring back from that has to happen for all of them, because Mark is unwell and these other personalities, Stephen and or possibly Jake, are part of him.
Yeah.
So if you bring Mark back, this isn't curing his mental illness, or, which is a scenario I think everyone's going to be deeply upset by, is Stephen gone now? And does that mean that if Mark is somehow brought back, Khonshu perhaps released by Layla, Khonshu brings him back?
And it is just Mark that comes back, or is it now we get Mark and Jake, and he thinks it's Stephen there, and it turns out, actually, no, I'm the other guy.
No, it's the murdering guy.
God, could you imagine? He sees a reflection of himself, and he goes, Stephen, it's you! And his character goes, who's Stephen?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Hey. Forget about it, and that's the end. It's interesting. I don't know where they're going to go. I think I remember talking to you about WandaVision, and we got to the finale of WandaVision, and both of us were like, I have no idea how this is going to end. Like, literally.
Yeah.
I watch a movie, I watch various TV shows, all these different things, and I've got a kind of like, it's a comic book film, it's this, it's that, this is how it's going to end, the good guys beating the bad guys, I got a rough, maybe we'll lose some characters along the way. That's where my unknown is. But just like with WandaVision, I genuinely have no idea on this, and I love that. I think the fact that they keep me that interested when I genuinely have no idea is impressive. I will say they completely lost my daughter on this one. She watched episode 4, kind of thought it was a bit crazy. Episode 5, she zoned out. She said, this isn't for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She's a proper MCU fan as well.
Yeah. She's a big fan. She's watched all of it, everything. But she was just like, this is too complicated. She's 13, 14 in August, so... Yeah,
still on the young side of the MCU audience.
Definitely, and I do think Moon Knight is definitely geared older.
Yeah.
I think adult understanding of the sheer depth of awfulness for some of the stuff in this episode for a start.
Yeah, I think I heard someone say, I can't remember where I heard it, might have probably been on TikTok or something.
Yeah.
And they said, I'm paraphrasing along the lines of, but the MCU is comics for grown-ups.
Yeah.
Like, any kid can pick up and read the comic and the graphic novels and stuff like that. But the way the MCU and especially the Disney Plus stuff has worked, they have made it for grown-ups. Like,
well, they've allowed the audience to... They've grown up with the audience.
Yeah.
So the audience... You know, if we watched Iron Man, me and you would have watched Iron Man in our teens, and me probably in my 20s. You maybe
was it? It was 11, 12 years ago?
Yeah, I don't know.
So, yeah, I would have been about 19, 20-ish.
Okay, yeah. So I would have been mid-20s. So we came to that, but 12, 13, 14-year-olds at that time are now where we were. You know, they're in their 20s, mid-20s, 30s. So they grew up on that beautiful superhero genre from the MCU. They're now wanting to see those characters evolve, wanting to see those characters in arcs that make more sense to them.
Yeah.
You see studios do stuff like this, and it is the way it works. But the problem you do have is then you have the situation where what happens when that audience falls out of love with it, or grows out of it, or, you know, just passes on.
You introduce Harry Styles and you bring in a whole new era.
Yeah, and that's kind of... And it is interesting because me and you have looked at this and sort of gone, I don't get the Harry Styles casting at all. And I look at the next MCU show on Disney Plus is Ms. Marvel,
which is a young teenage girl, coming of age sort of thing.
Yeah, and I look at that and I think to myself, oh no, is this show going to be for me? And I don't know, but I got to say this, and I got to say this on the podcast so people can hear it as well, because I think this is something that we as people can realise, and realise it's not a bad thing, is not everything needs to be aimed at me. Yep. There is enough content in the MCU, Star Wars, across all genres aimed at me, that a show can be aimed at somebody else, and I can look at it and go, oh wow, I don't really get that and stuff like that, and that's fine because I'm not the target audience.
And to the same extent, like, you've got to look, when Marvel have now created this much stuff in the MCU, there's going to be things that even the most die-hard fans are going to turn around and go, do you know what? Nah. Yeah. Like, for me, I mean, I've got half the MCU tattooed on my leg.
You do?
Massive fan. I'm currently sat next to a wall of Funko Pops, which I believe is now over 100 strong.
Nice.
And they are all Marvel. I've got the full WandaVision range, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I can put my hands up and say the Eternals and the What If series. Those two things, for me, I was like, nah, they were Marvel.
Did you even finish the What If series?
Yeah, we did podcast, didn't we? Did we podcast it?
Yeah, but I wasn't sure if you actually.
Yeah, no, I finished it all and stuff, and but I watched it because, like, the first two episodes, I was like, this isn't for me. This isn't my thing. And then I watched it, A, because we podcast, and B, because I know this is going to link into something somewhere.
Oh, massively.
So I've got to finish it. Yeah, and the same, like the Eternals. I watched the Eternals movie in the cinema on release day because I'm sad, and I watched it and I came out and I was like, that's the first Marvel film that I've come out and gone, it's a bit meh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rush back and go and see it. But then, you know, you start thinking, and like, one of my favourite films of the Marvel stuff is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And my sister-in-law or her husband? They're big fans of it all. They don't like Guardians of the Galaxy. They're like, no, it's slapstick crap humour. It's not. I prefer the more dark and gritty stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and, you know, and when you've got that much content, it's not going to be for everyone.
No, it's not. But
so I can understand, like, going back to, say, your daughter watching this. If this is the kind of like one of the first things that she's gone, now I'm out.
Yeah,
then blimey, she's done really well to get this far.
Yeah, I mean, she found the Falcon and Winter Soldier boring, but she watched it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to be honest with you, me and you both said when watching that, they went political heavy in that show and did a really good job with it. So I can understand why a kid was like, ugh, why don't someone shoot someone?
Yeah, where's the fight scene? Come on, fly your suit.
But yeah, anyway, so that was episode 5. I haven't got anything else left in my notes. Have you got anything you want to go over?
I've only got kind of what could possibly happen next.
Yeah, go for it.
Which is great, because I've got no freaking clue.
No, I'm the same.
I'm kind of wondering, is episode 6 going to be, like you say, Layla's going to break them out?
Yeah.
But then in my head, I'm now also like, wait, so I'm still sat on that theory of, okay, so we know that when he was shot, he woke up in the asylum because of the asylum was his bit of the afterlife.
Yeah.
His waiting room, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, so that means that everything that happened before the asylum did actually happen. Yeah. Which is fine, because I'm now processing that again. Because when that first bit finished at the end of the tomb, and I'm sat there going, wait, did any of that actually happen?
Yeah.
So we now know that happened. So we now know that Layla is his wife and she is out there.
Yeah.
And I believe that she would find a way to try and get things done.
Yeah.
I also don't believe we were introduced to the female avatar of the other god, where she spoke to Mark or Stephen in the pyramid. I don't believe that was just a throwaway interaction.
Okay.
I believe she may be involved in the last episode, maybe in releasing Khonshu, I don't know. But I feel like her part was too much of an interaction just to have been throwaway. I'm quite interested to know. Kind of, we've got 2 days of from recording this, and we shall know.
Yeah,
and I'm excited. Like I am genuinely excited for the final episode, and I still heavily believe the show will finish with Moon Knight will return.
Yeah,
I don't think he's going to get a second season. I think he's going to return in other people's shows.
See, I've been wondering about this a lot. I've been trying to work my head around. I like you. I think this is one and done. The fact that Marvel Studios have registered for award season as a limited season as well as series suggests that it's definitely one and done.
And now, I've read the rules on that, and one of the rules in it is that a one and done, like to be in the limited show, is the character is to not appear again. But I just can't see how.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, be a limited...
That can't be right, because one division was registered in that and won awards, and obviously those characters are appearing again.
They've appeared elsewhere and stuff, so I'm very confused by the bits I read. Someone did a breakdown of it, basically.
No, that can't be right, because loads of stuff, like characters... Anyway, right, parking that, because that's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I think, and this is my theory I'm throwing out there, that we're going to get this story wrapped nicely. Not nicely, but we're going to get the story wrapped from the series with Harrow. That is going to wrap. We are going to see a resolution to that. And I think we are going to get an after-credit scene where Mark /Steven/Jake as Moon Knight is approached by somebody. And I'd like it to be Blade. At the end of the Eternals movie, Blade, you hear his voice approach the Black Knight. I think an approach this time again to Moon Knight, a threat is coming and I need your help. And that's it. And then we're just like, what? What threat? What the hell? What?
So we've got kind of like, Nick Fury going around at the end of the after credit scenes of the pre-Avengers.
Yeah.
We've now got Blade doing the same thing.
That's my view. That would be
cool.
So basically, there was a team up, a group called the Midnight Suns.
Yes, Blade. Doctor Strange is part of that.
Well, like all the groups in the comics, people are in and out. Yep. But if I was to put this together now, I'd be looking at Blade. I'd be looking at obviously Moon Knight, the Dark Knight. Yeah. The Black Knight. Sorry, I got to stop saying Dark Knight because
that's the wrong franchise. Yeah, my bad.
Black Knight. Yeah, Moon Knight, Black Knight. Yeah, all the knights, but also Ghost Rider.
Yeah, and Punisher.
And the Punisher. Now, if I was to put together a team of, you could have a very intense group there. Jeez. A very interesting. That
is not a series you watch just before going to bed.
No, and this is the interesting thing. It's like we know there is a Blade movie, so is he putting together the Midnight Suns, and then the Blade movie perhaps is going to be called Blade and the Midnight Suns? All of this building towards that, or is it building towards a Disney Plus team up show? Because in Netflix Marvel stuff, and that is now on there called the Defenders Saga. So the MCU has officially canonized all of it. If you go to the MCU website, all of the stuff from Netflix, Daredevil is the perfect example. It shows his appearances in the MCU in the timeline order up to and including No Way Home.
Nice.
So Daredevil is the MCU core timeline. All of it is.
It's exciting.
Fisk, etc.
It's exciting
so
time.
It is. It's great. And so it's where it's going to go. Now, of course, none of that could happen. You know, we don't know. None of us have a clue. But I am looking forward to watching the finale. Like I said, the episode 6 show, where we're going to break that down and we're going to talk about the whole series and hopefully have an insight of what's going forward, is going to be myself, Stefan, and also my friend Kaylee joining us. If you've had any thoughts on the series at all, do get in touch with us. You can message us via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, any of our accounts on social media, TikTok even. You can get in touch via email, sam@stuffandthangspodcast.com or stefan@stuffandthangspodcast.com. Kaylee doesn't have one yet. She has to earn that. But yeah, until next week, everybody, I want you all to take care, and we'll be back to talk Moon Knight on Marvel Monday. If you're a big fan of The Walking Dead, keep an eye out for Walking Dead Wednesdays, which concerns. Also, do keep an eye on our social media, because there is more and more shows coming soon. Finally, the Stranger Things podcast will start dropping very soon, because of course Friday the 27th of May, Stranger Things returns to Netflix.
Yes.
But also Friday the 27th of May on Disney Plus, the first 2 episodes of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series will be dropping.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to be busy on this podcast, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, mate, thanks for joining me. Thank you, everybody listening. We'll speak soon.
And remember, there can be no progress without understanding.
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.